There's an illustration here. Supposing, it's probably that text is a bit small for you to see, but I've got the whole page on. If you've got it, turn to you've got it in front of you, right. Main research question. Your chosen subject is design for homes, and you might ask, what ideas of home are expressed through design today? It's a simple, plain question, and none the worse for that. Do come in.
Sorry.
Have a brief. Sit on one of those chairs over there. Thank you. What ideas of home are expressed through design today? If you're going to ask that question, some subsidiary questions might include, what have been the conventional ideas of home? And we looked at those in a lecture earlier this year. How and why are these ideas changing today? Probably one would be looking at changes in demographics, single people, single person households, different senses of identity being expressed through furnishing of homes. What new ideas are emerging? How has design responded? Can design promote new ideas? What might the future hold? Now, the thing about subsidiary questions is potentially they can go on forever. That's not a problem. You just select the ones that you think are key to the answer to the question that you're thinking that you want to do. You'll notice I put there, discuss your approach with your VMC tutor, and of course involve your studio or workshop tutors. Don't see this as a separate activity. It will live so much better if you make full use of the expertise that's around you all the time. And obviously Fiona or Neil or whoever, it's quite likely that you'll want to discuss this with them. Do. They're ready for you. Okay. I've sort of said about precise research questions and what you need to do, so I'm not going to take you in detail through that. But spend time now, save time later. You get the research question right, or at least credible now, then you won't be wasting time later. Okay, the next critical thing is planning a structure. And I've just itemized there the different types of structure that you're already familiar with from the guide, but which you might want to think about in connection with whatever your question might be. Later today, when I give you feedback on your essays and we talk about what you might be doing, we should have an opportunity, I think, to think about some of these things. A thematic structure, where you examine a different theme in each chapter. A case study structure, where you might examine a sequence of designs, or a sequence of designers, or a sequence of buildings, or, I don't know, nightclubs, whatever your chosen subject area might be. An evidence-based structure. Occasionally people do a structure where they look at different types of evidence. So they might consider text, and then they might consider, say, interview material from people who design, and then interview material from people who are end users. It could be a legitimate approach. Or a chronological structure where you give a narrative, but nonetheless themes emerge in the narrative that you give. That doesn't cover all types of structure. There may be others that you find useful or want to develop and that actually suit your purposes. Here's an illustration of a structure that fitted that illustration of a question earlier. This particular structure is a thematic one. So you're asking the question, what ideas of home are expressed through design today? And you could have an introduction and then a first chapter that looks at the notion of the family home, one of the conventional models of what a home might be. And the title of the chapter indicates to the reader that there may be some question mark over whether this is an idea that's still current. So the chapter's called The Family Home, a Dying Concept. And then the second chapter, All Mine, Single Occupancy and Identity. So looking at alternatives to family homes and what the consequences for design have been. And then last, Less Space, More Status, testing the possibility that in a comparatively affluent age, with people living in smaller and smaller homes, that perhaps status is being expressed through design. It could be in that chapter that it isn't status that's being expressed, but other ideas. But that's a possibility. If in the process of developing the chapter you found it wasn't status but other ideas, you might want to change the chapter title. a thematic structure. Notice that the chapter titles, they both indicate what might be in the chapter, but also act as a sort of teaser to the reader. They're trying to give the reader an indication of what's there, and also an indication of the sort of discussion that's going to happen there. Okay. Well, it says here you completed by email, but I'm pretty confident that when this was drafted, that was so, but that it's now on Blackboard. As I say, if you have any trouble getting hold of the form, contact Simon Forster and he can email it to you. I've described the form. We don't have to do that again. And after you've submitted the form, we'll give you feedback on whether the thing is viable or not. In the vast majority of cases, these things are, but just occasionally we pick up on things, and we'll give you a commentary about, with each section, about what's good and what's bad. So you'll get feedback in addition to whether it's approved or not approved.